Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another episode of the Freshman 15. Right back here, hosted alongside Tyler Moore of More Outdoors, and a whole lot more college football to talk on the landscape. But big show tonight, a very, very big show tonight. Before we get to it, though, I just want to say, hit that like, hit that sub button. If you like the channel, like the content here on this channel, over at Tyler's channel at More Outdoors on YouTube. But with that said, let's get right to it. Tyler, what's up, man?
Not much, man. We're actually doing this early this week. It's a Monday night. There's a banger going on right now on ESPN, and we're just let's pump through this college this college thing. Let's go.
You know what, man? I'm not watching the game because my fantasy team's already screwed, so it's like no point. I got no dogs left in the fight. Literally, I'm short, so it's like let's knock this thing out the park, man. So we took a break before the last episode, right?
Yep.
Now we're back into it. Another big week of college football, a lot of big matchups that we're going to talk about. So, man, you know what? Let's just dive right into it. Let's head back to recap the Saturday spotlight of last week. So I think the game I took was Utah and UCLA.
Mm-hmm.
And going back to that game, I just, had to rewatch it again for the episode. And the story of the game is going to be Zach Charbonnet, and it should be, right? Like, Zach Charbonnet went off 200 yards on the ground. DTR he didn't have to do much through the air, but he was efficient enough that they could just keep moving the ball down the field, hitting their dots. And Cam Rising, Tavion Smith played a pretty solid games, but at the end of the day, it was just a lot of UCLA. They were gashing them in the run game, huge holes last week. Like, the program looks real, man. Like, UCLA looks real. And if anything else, right, and I thought about this too before we started the show, is for them, all their success is great for the Pac-12. And it's great for, who is Chip Kelly?
Yeah.
Like, he's been left for dead in the whole college football landscape since leaving Oregon, going to the Eagles, back in college football, having some down years, and they're right back on the map, like on the radar. Like, it's crazy to think that, So, and I'm watching this game for the show, the Saturday Spotlight. I'm like, I'm really watching UCLA football. Like, but they're legit, man. They're legit. I'm telling you, I look at the notes, and I know that you DM'd me. We talked about it like when the game was going on too, and it's like this collision course in the Pac-12 of
exactly
them and USC. Like, it's wild. So, I mean, that's a big game in the Saturday Spotlight, but it could be a big game in the weeks coming forward. And I'm like, damn, really, UCLA, crazy, man, crazy. But so you had a game in your Saturday Spotlight. So tell me about that game in the Saturday Spotlight.
Did I take I took Kansas, right? That was that game, the Kansas game.
I believe so.
Yeah. So yeah. So like I said, a lot of people weren't really talking about it because Oklahoma and Texas were on at the same time, Red River rivalry. But TCU and Kansas got that game, and then Jalen Daniels ended up getting hurt. And then they had that backup quarterback come in, and he was just balling out.
Yeah.
And and they're showing like they had an offense. Everyone said TCU has probably like the best defense within the Big 12. They usually do, and so they Kansas was throwing punch for punch with them, and it came down to like what the final drive. So it was good, entertaining football, and that's what we want with the Saturday Spotlight. We want something that's that's entertaining. That's something that we want we want to watch. So, yeah.
Bingo. Now, so normally how you do this, right? We skip this part and go into the upset picks, a recap of the upset picks.
Right.
But before we do that, and listen, something that we talk about, right, is always like shooting your shot. Guys, girls out there, shoot your shot. Be brave, be bold, say what you mean what you say. But more importantly than shooting your shot is calling your shot. And I think, Tyler, you had a shot you called last week, if I'm correct. So before we move on, I want to roll a clip. So here's a clip from last week's show.
Ohio State over Sparty by 21. I should have said more. I should say like 29.
So, man, it seems like for me, right, on the show, like I'm decked out in my BT shit tonight. I'm decked out. But we never harbor your squad, the Buckeyes. We never really talk about them much because they just kind of go about their way and they just knock out their business quietly and in, by the way, convincingly fashion. Like, they just beat teams' asses. They roll them. They move forward. And we kind of don't talk about it. At least for me here on the East Coast, it's not a Big Ten thing like that. So we kind of just roll past it. But just the way they're handling their business, and you being the native here, Ohio State expert, I have two questions for you.
Yes, sir.
And first question is, how confident are you in this team winning the Natty this season?
Well, I mean, with everything that we've seen lately, like I know Alabama. I was going to talk about later, but Alabama, they didn't have Bryce Young, but this past game, they if they're as good as people say they are, they should have blown Texas A&M out of the water. Backup quarterback or not, because Texas A&M is down. They lost to Appalachian State, and they're 3-3 now. So there's no reason why going into there a two-loss team should be just
wrestling.
You're
wrestling.
You're wrestling with Alabama. So yeah, but yeah. I mean, in to go off that, like we talk about these collision courses. Right now, it looks like Ohio State and Michigan is on a collision course, and they could be number. If the AP polls are status quo right now, they could be 3-4 when they play each other.
Yeah, and that's a huge one. But speaking of the AP polls in the top four,
yep.
Do you think if it shook out your way, you being the Buckeyes fan, would the Buckeyes beat Georgia in the national championship game if it came down to it?
Yes. That's the homer in me, but I don't think what's his name? Stenson Bennett. I don't have any faith in him, especially the way he played against Mizzou. So I mean, their defense is gonna be really good, but we haven't seen anybody slow down Ohio State's offense, and they have weapons all over the field. Like they've only had Jackson, 2 games this year, and they're just rolling, and they got 2 running backs that they use really well, and then they got Stover, who's a tight end / linebacker, and he's scored touchdowns now. So yeah. I'd say
we'll come back to this one.
Yeah, I would say 10.
We will.
Yeah.
We will. All right. So now to the upset picks of last week, right? So, you had picked, if I recall correctly, Washington State over USC. What went down that game? What happened?
Yeah. So going into halftime, it was 14-17. USC was up, and USC just locked down. Basically, they slowed down Washington State's offense, and I like I said, so it was immovable object meets unstoppable force, and the immovable object won. So I was hoping, because that was gonna be my big one. That's what I was hoping for, but
yeah.
But that just sets up, like we said, the collision course for later on for UCLA and USC.
It does. I mean, look, on the show, we're good for a couple. We get a couple right. So I'm imperfect now, because I was nailing these upset picks.
Yeah.
Back to back until we hit LSU last week. And I blew that one. And I think, kind of going through my notes here with Tennessee, because I really did build up Hendon Hooker before the game started. But still thinking like maybe this is going to kind of fall south for them, but not at all. And it's going to bleed into the Saturday spotlight this week anyway, Tennessee. But
absolutely.
Okay, so I know where we're going with this. But I watched the game, and it wasn't like they made Hooker do anything spectacular, except that big throw that he threw to Jalen Hyatt on the left sideline. I mean, it was a dart, it was a dime, great throw. But other than that, the defense, the Vols defense, came to play that day, and they stepped up in a big way, where they just stifled Daniels. Like, he couldn't do anything all day long. He was roughed up, he was hit, he was sacked. I talked about maybe Keyshawn Boots stepping up that day. Still, the man is on a milk carton. But credit to the Tennessee Vols defense, shutting that whole operation down. And they pretty much cruised throughout that game. It was a cakewalk, I think. I want to say they were up 23-7. It was a beatdown, man. So my pick went left. So thank you for that, LSU Tigers, of making me now imperfect with my upset picks here on the Freshman 15. So appreciate y'all. Now, for the fun part of the show, and I think we're going to probably say the same thing here, but who helped or hurt themselves the most last week in college football?
I think mine's Utah hurt themselves. They were ranked high. Is that what you were gonna say?
No. Okay. I just realized that.
Yeah, Utah. They're ranked number 11. You're one of those teams that are up there for the Pac-12, representing the Pac-12, and a lot of them are moving up because they're beating up. Like a lot of them are undefeated. They were undefeated, 1-loss teams, Yeah, and then they're slowly beating each other up. And this week we have another big one, but I think it's Utah because I think now they're probably going to drop, probably into the low 20s, and I don't see a way for them to come back.
Yeah, and so for me, I kind of branched off the TCU Kansas tree on this one, and really it's for Kansas because I feel like Kansas, the program needed to kind of win that game and hold serve. They lose their quarterback, right? They lose our guy Daniels. The thing in that is too, it's kind of twofold really, and I'm kind of double dipping in the pie, but it's also for Daniels too. He hurt himself by getting hurt, which I know is unfair, but it's the truth. Mm-hmm. He was one of the guys that talked about maybe making that dark horse push for the Heisman.
Yeah.
And then now you're hurt. The team plays well without you, with your backup playing well. I mean, like you said, he was dotting them up.
Yeah.
Really dotting them up. So Jason Bean goes in there. I mean, he's just slinging it. And so all of a sudden it kind of hurts your candidacy for the Heisman. So it's like the program, because it's about the program at large.
Yep.
They lost twice. Lost the game and you lost, that, because everyone wants to have the Heisman, right? Like you want the Heisman votes because it just does well for the program going forward. So I definitely went with him there. And I feel like, damn, that was a missed opportunity for the Jayhawks in 2 spots.
Yeah.
Now for the big one, you can probably take this one. Actually, no, forget that, because you sniped me last week on a Saturday Spotlight. So fuck all that. I got this. Okay. So this week, right, our Saturday Spotlight has to be Tennessee and Alabama, correct?
Yeah. I was. You can go ahead and say that, but I was gonna say all 5 major conferences have one good game each, and I'll go through them when it's my turn. So the 5 that I'm gonna highlight, yeah.
Bet. So yep. I mean, I have to go with this one of Tennessee and Bama, and only because, like I said, this one for the Vols is a big one, right? Like I can't recall the last time the Vols were in real contention for something major, like a long time, like a very long time. So them kind of being in this spot with Hendon Hooker, and you might be catching Alabama at the best possible time. If Milroe has to play a redshirt freshman quarterback, there's no Bryce Young. And by the way, even despite with Bryce Young playing, they weren't that convincing either.
Right.
So it's like if you could kind of just pluck them right now. And I haven't seen Alabama this kind of like maybe depleted as far as their production on offense and the quarterback literally being hurt. So it's like, take it. If you're Tennessee, you got to take it. And their defense played well. And I just think about them playing now with the crowd in Knoxville who can kind of see it coming. Like they're playing something major. I think this is the one. This is to me the Saturday Spotlight game. And I think this has got to be the one for the Vols to take that mantle from Alabama. But that's for me. Now, if you can beat that, by all means, take it.
Yeah, like I said, I'm going to go through them real quick. But all 5 major conferences have a big game. So the first one is 11 o'clock Saturday morning, Penn State, Michigan. That's a big one.
Yeah.
Number 10, number 5, Alabama, Tennessee. Number 3, number 6, Oklahoma State, TCU. Number 8, number 13, ACC, NC State, number 15 versus number 18, Syracuse. And then the last one, it would be, where the heck did I see that? USC versus Utah. I mean, the 5 major conferences, 5 big games, all have playoff implications. So it's going to be and Ohio State's not playing, so I get to just sit back and
relax
and watch. I mean, I'm chilling before, but now I get to chill even more. So.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's just that game, man. I know I'm stuck on it. I'm kind of amped for it, but the game of Tennessee, because again, if you can beat that team, and you already talked about it for the whole landscape of the college football playoff, you beat Alabama, you then send shockwaves throughout the entire NCAA world because you knock them off. Now you can ask some real questions. Now you have real chaos, and that's, again, this is what you want with the CFB, the college football playoff, CFP. You want to have the chaos, and I'm like, yeah, this is the one, man. This is the one. Now they could bounce back, I'm sure, but to kind of jockey for position, and like you said, this is why Utah hurt themselves because, like you're saying, like the dominoes are stacked up right there for you, and they're right there in front of you. So it's, yeah, I can see that. Now that's the fun part. And here's the wild card, and the wild card that we have, the upset picks of the week. So I'll let you start. Who is your upset special this week?
I think TCU is going to be Oklahoma State. Oklahoma
Ooh.
State's a high flying offense. Like I said earlier, TCU probably has one of the better defenses in the Big 12, and I think they're playing for something a little bit more than just. I mean, obviously they're playing for something a little more than the championship, but pride here. I think they want to be the best team in the Big 12. So I'm taking TCU over Oklahoma State, 13 over 8. Yep.
Now, stop me if you heard this one before. You probably have. So I'm gonna go this week with Florida State over Clemson.
Yeah, that was the other one. Yeah.
All right, cool. So yeah, we're on the same page here. And
The
it's
only
really,
the only time I'll ever root for Florida State, playing against Clemson.
tell me about it. The hate is real in this blood. But you know what, though? The more I think about it, though, with Florida State, and we talked about it a little bit last week. I was talking about Jimbo Fisher leaving Florida State, but the Florida State program kind of finding its way all over again within the ACC.
Mm-hmm.
They've had the misfortune of playing a lot of tight games in their conference and losing them. Wake Forest, NC State, even LSU. Like those tight games were kind of a factor in them not making it. Now you look at Clemson, kind of the same thing. Close call against Wake Forest, close call against NC State. You and I both don't believe in their quarterback.
Right.
So, and I'm a skeptic. I'm a major skeptic of that. Now, the realistic part of this is, and it's kind of is akin to my pick of Florida beating Utah way back in week 1, is that the things have not gone right exactly correct for Florida State as far as Jordan Travis's production as a quarterback or the Florida State pass rush. It's not there. But it just seems so crazy in the college football orbit that it might fall in their lap. For example, I mean, this is totally unrelated, but I got a guy, we're in the same fantasy football league, and he's 0-5. He's facing the gun of 0-5. But he's gone off every single week. And every week that he goes off, someone goes off even higher than him. It's just a matter of circumstances. I hate to be that guy. But this is how I feel about this matchup with Florida State, where they keep in these cracks of these ranked opponents in their conference.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is the week they finally take them down. I think they drag Clemson down to hell at the Doak. They knock their asses out, and we finally talk about DJ in the way that we've talked about him before, and you see it kind of play out. I'm just feeling that matchup this weekend. I'm really feeling the upsets, something serious. So I got Florida State.
It'll just tickle my fancy to have Alabama and Clemson lose in the same weekend. Man, I might be unbearable next week.
The hater DNA is strong, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
You and I both, man. While I sit here and play spoiler, decked out in the VT gear. My ex-quarterback's a Heisman candidate. It's some shit, man. But you know what, though? It's always a good time here on the Freshman 15, man. So any last thoughts?
No, I mean, like I said, like you said, it's a good weekend of college football. So, I mean, you can't get much better than what we have here until, rivalry weekend at the end of the season. So,
well said, man. Well said. A good week to sit on your ass, crack the beers, and have a great time, man. So you already know how to do. But hey, guys, once again, thanks for joining us here on the Freshman 15. I'm LP Cruz for my man Tyler Moore. This has been, once again, the Freshman 15. Hit that like, hit that sub button, and check us out. And so, peace.
Peace.